new campaign under the hashtag You Are Not Alone aims to create awareness of domestic abuse and the help available to anyone at risk of or experiencing domestic abuse, especially during this difficult time. To learn more about the You Are Not Alone campaign, Data Sophia speaks to Ubah Egal, a social worker and director of the Somali Cultural Centre.
So this campaign is called You Are Not Alone, and it's a government initiative, and it's been developed because obviously at the moment we're in the middle of a pandemic and there's lockdown all over the world. So in the UK, the government wanted to specifically remind people that they're not alone, you are not alone, and that although resources are being concentrated on people staying at home and isolating, people are there to still support you. So the police are still there if people are in situations of domestic abuse and they need support.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the work you've done during the pandemic. I know there was a rise in the cases of domestic abuse. There was a rise in people contacting and seeking help. So tell us a bit more about how that went and how it's going now.
So as you know, as I said, because of the isolation, people are in situations where they're isolating, maybe with partners that are challenging. They're in situations where they are with people, so the pressure at home is greater. And the campaign basically has alerted people to the fact that there's a rise in situations where people are feeling unsafe. Unfortunately, within our community, there was a reported case of somebody being killed in a domestic abuse instance. So we felt it was really important to join this campaign and start to highlight how people can get help and what they can do, even though we're in isolation. It's not very easy and standard to get about because of COVID-19. So the main ways that this has come about is the government want to highlight that people can still call 999 in the case of an emergency. If they're not able to speak, they can dial 999 without speaking, listen for the operator, and then press 55, which will direct you straight to the police, which means that even if you feel unsafe to speak, you can still make that contact.
Right, so they dial 999 and then they dial 55. So even if they can't speak, they can get help, yeah?
That's right, yes.
Okay, but for the sake of clarity, some people will be in some kind of grave situations, and because they're used to it, they sort of live with it. Could you please clarify and by way of defining what it is, domestic abuse, as widely as possible, so that someone knows, like, actually, I think I'm being abused.
Okay, so I would say domestic abuse includes incidents of physical, psychological, sexual, emotional, and economic abuse. So a person could be having things perpetrated onto them from either a partner or an ex-partner, but also a family member. So they could be not just physically actually harmed, but psychologically. So maybe being coerced and controlled. Obviously sexual, we can understand what that is. Emotional, so being maybe isolated from people and being picked on emotionally so that they're affected by this person. And economical abuse is, withholding money, controlling how they spend, where they go, who they contact. A lot of things can be happening all at the same time, but these are the general descriptions. But patterns of control and coercion include what you do, who you see. They may be being isolated from friends and family. They may be being told what they can and can't do. They may even have food withheld or medicine withheld. So really they're fully controlled by somebody else and are not free to make choices for themselves.
Okay, I also know that in some cultures, people are forced into marriage. I don't know how glaring it is here, but can you enlighten us as to what a forced marriage is? And how much of it do we really have here?
Forced marriage in the title, it's telling you. So somebody who has been made to marry against their will.
Right.
So this could be somebody who is maybe sent abroad on the pretext of a holiday, but really they're being sent to marry somebody against their will, or somebody is brought to them and they are made to marry this person. A forced marriage is effectively being put in a situation where you're in a relationship or a marriage with somebody that you did not choose to be with or wish to be with. There is there are units across the country within the police force and legislation to protect people from forced marriage. So it's illegal to make somebody marry somebody else. But we've also had situations where there have been honor killings, people being killed as a result of refusing or going against the wishes of whoever is putting them in that position. So this is a serious situation, and it does happen around the world, but we do know that it happens here in the UK.
Another aspect of violation, female genital mutilation, is that considered domestic abuse?
So FGM, female genital mutilation, is considered child abuse. And I think it wouldn't be considered domestic abuse because it's usually perpetrated against children and girls at a young age. However, there may be cases where somebody that's older is at risk of this. And so as part of the information about the You Are Not Alone campaign, it's really there to remind people that that's illegal. There are numbers and services available that people can call.
Right. So whether it be FGM, whether it be other forms of domestic abuse, they are most likely a group of people who may be afraid to come forward, maybe due to their immigration status. What kind of advice would you give to such people?
Yeah, so if there's a victim of domestic abuse and they perhaps haven't got their documents in order, maybe they're new arrival, maybe they're on a visa, a spousal visa, or they've not fully got their citizenship sorted out, the message is that the help is still out there for you. And if you're suffering domestic abuse, if you feel you cannot get help because of the fact that you may not have immigration status, or part of the abuse is telling you you will be deported without me, or whatever threat is given to this person, the message is that you can still get help, you can still call 999, you can still seek assistance, and there are some support services to help people sort out their settlement and their immigration as a result of being supported through the domestic abuse campaign.
How can the fear of taking this action affect things? Because it sounds very clear the way you've said it, but some people would actually have fears that it may not be as you have said it. How would you address such fears?
With domestic abuse, a lot of people really struggle to leave their abusers, or are afraid, or maybe they leave and they go back, or the control and the coercion and the situation means that they're not always feeling safe to take that step. The first thing I would say is, if you're able to get information, then do so. There are helplines. If you're not ready to, dial 999 and ask for immediate action, if you don't feel you're in a situation to do that, you can empower yourself by getting information. Firstly, I would say go to the government website. So for the UK, it's gov.uk/domestic-abuse. On the website, they are aware that people speak multiple languages, and they have made an effort to translate documents into all the different languages. So for myself, I speak Somali. There'll be all this information in Somali available, and any other language that people speak here in the UK.
Okay. So I know the focus is always on the victims, yeah? But what about the perpetrators? Is there any help for them?
Yeah, so if there are people who have identified themselves or know that they need help as perpetrators, there is an organization called Respect, and it's an anonymous and confidential helpline for men and women who are harming their partners. So they can contact this organization and start to get help to change the behavior. The fact that somebody is willing to acknowledge it is the first step, and then they can then seek the help they need.
What about the ones who are not willing to acknowledge that there's a problem?
I think when it comes to these kind of services, they are, if you're concerned about a perpetrator yourself or your relative, or you know that your friend or your family is in this situation, you can also contact that organization to get advice about what can be done, what you can do to address the situation. There's also 24-hour helplines that you can contact that are also listed on the website. So I would say the first thing is to get information, know your rights, know what is out there. If you're in a position, you have someone that can support you or you trust, maybe it's your children's school teachers, speak to them. Maybe it's somebody at the local library or the parent center, or at your local council, or a community center or a charity. There are people that you can go to that can help facilitate you getting the support you need. So I would say arm yourself with information, because knowledge is power, as they say.
Right, thank you, Ubah. So yeah, you've said quite a bit, and the bottom line of the message is that you are not alone. Everybody, right. Anybody out there who may be going through any form of domestic abuse, you are not alone. There's help, but you just have to speak up. So Ubah, I'd just like to ask you, do you have any final words?
The website has a lot of information. There is a 24-hour national helpline run by Refuge, and the number is 0808 2000 247. And they're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can call them anonymously, or ask them to give you help there and then, and they'll put you through to who you need. It's very challenging. People are in difficult situations, but there is help, really. That's the message. There is help out there. The You Are Not Alone campaign is literally telling you you're not alone, and please try and seek advice and help to change the situation. And I think for us as Africans, there's a lot of shame associated with situations like domestic abuse. People feel shame, or they don't want people to know their business. But I think sometimes you have to step out of that zone and think about your future, your health, your children, and changing the situation for the better.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ubah. It's an all-important message you brought, and thank you for coming to share with us.
You're welcome.
So we've heard from Ubah, at home shouldn't mean at risk of domestic violence. So if you're being controlled, or you're being harmed physically, emotionally, financially, by a partner or ex-partner, or even a family member, help is available. The message we bring to you today is you are not alone. So get help today. The numbers are showing on your screen, and there's also the website available showing on your screen as well. Get help today. Thank you.